There are presences in your home that anchor your unease, not as ghosts, but as streams of energy, a current that pulls you gently back to a shore you have already left. This energy can soften the sharpness of your spirit, cloud the quiet water of your sleep, and slowly, like a fine dust settling, dull the blade of your discipline. You move past them in your daily dance, a vessel cracked from a friendship that is no longer whole. A mask on the wall that once felt intriguing, but now breathes a certain coldness into the air. Gifts you have held on to, not from love, but from the ghost of obligation. Things that are full of story, but empty of peace. In the tradition I come from, the first ground for inner stillness is the clarity of our outer world. If your vessel is in turmoil, the water within it cannot find its calm. This is not simply about order versus mess. It is about resonance. Objects can become anchors for stagnation, for old pains, for feelings you believed were laid to rest. These become quiet invitations for the currents we call anxiety, irritation, heavy thoughts that rise from a river with no apparent source. Today, I will invite you to see the objects that disturb the flow of energy in your home and how to release their hold, not with fear, but with awakened awareness. I will share insights from an ancient stream of wisdom, rarely spoken of outside the stillness of the temple walls. Simple ways of being, clear truths, and a single, powerful understanding that every monk follows to shield their heart from disturbance. When our time together is finished, you will not see a room. You will see a mirror. You will understand how certain things can drain the light from your spirit, and why the act of letting go is not just a clearing of space. It is a resetting of your own sacred path. If you feel you are walking in place, if you feel a stirring without a name, if your attention is a scattered flock of birds, begin here. The first mountain to climb is not always in the distance. Sometimes it sits silently on your shelf. I invite you to join this practice of inner clearing. Some things carry a weight before your hand even meets them. You step into a room and a subtle shift occurs. You cannot name it, but a tension gathers in your shoulders. Your breath becomes a little more shallow. The silence itself feels dense. This is not a flight of fancy. This is the breath of all things, the energy we call chi. Everything holds it. Every object, every cloth you wear, every corner of your home is a vessel for the memory of what has been felt there. Joy, sorrow, fear, confusion, these things remain. The echo does not fade simply because the sound is gone. It settles. It weaves itself into the fabric of the space, a gift from one who broke a trust. A mirror with a fracture you never mended. A painting that stirs a quiet unease, kept only for what it cost. These things hold a discordant chi, an energy that has lost its harmonious flow. And when the world around you holds confusion, your inner world follows. Silently, patiently, you begin to feel uncentered. You lose your clarity. You begin to move from a place of reaction, not from a place of peace. The path I walk teaches this. When the outer landscape is out of balance, the inner landscape is stirred. A dissonant energy in your surroundings is not a passive thing. It is a reflection of something held within you. This is why to notice these objects is not superstition. It is a profound form of self-study. It is to ask the question, why do I hold this? What part of me has not yet let go? We sometimes keep the past alive by building a shrine to its wounds. And then a simple shelf becomes a constant, silent prayer to what has hurt us, and your room begins to whisper old doubts into the quiet of your sleep. This is why monks are taught to keep few things, and only that which uplifts or serves clarity. Not because things are good or evil, but because energy is the river in which we all swim. Your home is not a box you live inside. It is an extension of your own energy field. What you allow to surround you begins to shape you. What you allow to stay, stays within you. Not all disquiet comes through an open door. At times, it rests on a shelf, a statue with angles like daggers, a mask with a silent, frozen cry, a piece of art drenched in a sadness you can feel. These things may seem interesting, perhaps unique, but in the deep quiet of the night, they hum with a lower, heavier vibration, not because a spirit haunts them, but because symbols have a language. And their language speaks directly to the subconscious river within you, long before the conscious mind can build a dam. In the ancient teachings, symbols were handled with immense reverence. A single stroke on a scroll could be a gateway to the heavens, to discipline, or to the great stillness of death. The wise have always known that what you surround yourself with, you invite inside. It enters you again and again, quietly, until it begins to shape your thoughts without your consent. You may not feel it at once. A vague feeling of unrest as you pass a certain corner. A restlessness in a room where you can never fully exhale. This is the way of subtle energy, like single drops of water over a great span of time. They feed a quiet tension, the invisible roots of an anxiety that seems to spring from nowhere. Mastery is not only found in great battles or the perfection of form. It begins with what you allow into your private world, and for what reason. Discipline means being ruthlessly honest about the energy you live with, even if it is just a simple decorative piece. Especially then, if an object whispers discomfort to your spirit, it does not matter how valuable it is, or how many years it has sat there. The deeper part of you is inviting you to choose peace over possession, to release, without fear or nostalgia, that which no longer sings the same song as your own heart. For when you let go of the symbols that speak of fear, your spirit finds room to breathe. The silence in your home grows softer, the shadows recede, and your space becomes not merely a shelter, but a training ground for clarity, for presence, for inner power. Some objects carry a gravity that no scale could ever hope to measure. A journal from a chapter of your life you wish to close. A gift from a person who has since walked a different path. A certificate from a pursuit you left unfinished. These things seem to sleep quietly in drawers or gather dust in a corner, but their presence is not silent. It speaks in the language of feeling, of memory, in the quiet gravity of the past. The discipline I know begins with awareness, not only of your breath and your body, but of the world that holds you. Every object carries an echo. When it is tied to regret, that echo becomes a loop. Each time your gaze falls upon it, even without conscious thought, it whispers, "You did not complete it. You lost. This was a road not taken." And a part of your own energy remains anchored there, replaying, resisting, repeating. The path of mindfulness does not ask you to forget your past. It asks you to bring it to completion. Completion is not about altering what has passed. It is about altering your relationship to it in this present moment. Sometimes that means revisiting the memory with a courageous heart. Other times, it simply means releasing it with no grand ceremony. To hold on to the relics of a broken part of your life is to keep yourself frozen in a story you have long since outgrown. This is how the dust of old emotions gathers. And when enough of it accumulates, even the road forward feels heavy. The way of mastery is not defined by what you acquire. It is defined by what you have the courage to release. An old photograph, a letter, a box kept beneath your bed. If its resonance is regret, ask of it, "Does your presence help me rise, or does it hold me still?" There is a profound strength in release. There is a great clarity in closure. And sometimes, peace arrives not from mending the past, but from no longer needing to carry its pieces. Completion creates space, and that space becomes presence. And in presence, all true power resides. The room can be perfectly still, and yet the mind can be a storm, not because of a voice, but because of a glowing screen. Notifications stacked like stones, threads of thought left open, conversations frozen mid-sentence, an algorithm feeding you more thoughts you did not ask for. This is the new form of clutter, luminous, digital, and without end. In the old traditions, disturbances were easy to see, a loud voice, a sharp weapon, an argument that still hung in the air. Today the noise is quiet, but it is constant. You scroll, you swipe, you refresh. Each small motion is a scattering of your chi, a breaking of the natural rhythm of your breath, a pulling of your presence away from its center. The Shaolin tradition teaches stillness, not as the absence of motion, but as power gathered in a quiet form. When your attention is shattered into 1,000 pieces, your energy leaks away. You may not feel it at first, but over time, a deep awareness grows. Your focus becomes soft, your sleep unquiet, your body holds attention for no reason it can name. The screen does not just occupy your time, it occupies your center. Mindful separation is a form of discipline. It is a sacred pause, not to deny technology, but to reclaim your inner ground from its constant pull. It is to say, for this moment, I return to myself, place the device in another room, light a stick of incense, breathe. Even 10 minutes without a screen can shift your entire energy field. You will feel a subtle energy returning to you. It is slow, it is grounded, it is steady. Your breath finds its own depth again. Your thoughts begin to slow. You can hear the sound of your own quiet voice once more. This is not a retreat. It is a reset. A warrior does not sharpen their blade in the middle of a battle, but in the silence before it. You sharpen your presence by stepping away from the endless noise. What you allow to fill your eyes will eventually fill your spirit. Choose with great care, because peace is not something you find by chance. It is the space you create by choosing what you welcome and what you gently, firmly set down. Your clothing remembers what your conscious mind works to forget. A bracelet you wore through a painful argument, a shirt you had on during a day of drowning self-doubt, a necklace you held in your hand when the fire of jealousy was burning in your chest. These objects feel like a part of you, but they are not always a safe harbor. They have been on your skin during moments of high emotional current, and whether you knew it or not, they absorbed it. In the deep understanding I was taught, objects soak up chi, most especially those that are worn close to the body. Fabric is porous, not only to air and water, but to the weather of our emotions. Anger carries a heat, sorrow carries a weight. These qualities do not simply vanish when the feeling passes. They settle into what we wear. They remain, and one day, you put that same item on, and something feels out of place. You feel a tension, a heaviness, a reaction to something that is not there. It is not the color, it is not the cut, it is the memory held fast in the fibers. This is the reason that spiritual ways across the earth all have practices of ritual cleansing, not just for a living space, but for garments, for tools, for jewelry, to clear what lingers, to restore a kind of purity to what has been imprinted. You can practice this with something as simple as water and your own intention. A gentle washing under the light of the moon, a few grains of salt, a silent, steady breath as you do so. You can also simply choose to let it go completely, to pass it on, or to give it to the fire if the weight it carries is too great. Mastery asks for this kind of awareness in the smallest of things, not from a place of fear, but from a profound respect for the energy field you carry. When you cleanse what touches your body, you also cleanse the echo of old reactions. You return to a state of neutrality, and in that deep stillness, your presence becomes sharp, your spirit light. The past lets go of its hold, and the road before you feels a little more open, a little more your own. Some things are passed down not from hand to hand, but from spirit to spirit. An old watch from a father who lived behind a wall of silence. A ring from a grandmother who carried a deep, quiet sorrow. A painting from someone whose smile never quite reached their eyes. These objects hold more than their form. They hold the gravity of stories that were never spoken. Energy does not stay only within a living body. It moves into memory, into emotion, into the very matter of things. And when a person gives you an object, especially if they are carrying unresolved pain, that object can become a vessel, a silent container for what was never healed. You may never know the entire story, you may not need to, but you feel it. A certain heaviness when you put on the ring, a strange, quiet resistance when you look at the painting, a subtle sense of being ungrounded. Nothing loud, but just enough to pull you from your center. The ancient insights remind us that simple possession means very little. What truly matters is the resonance, the intention. If something was created or given from a place of love, its energy uplifts. If it came from a place of fear or guilt or emotional confusion, it can place a subtle cloud over your space. This does not mean that all gifts are a burden. It means you must learn to listen. Objects speak in the quiet moments. They ask, do I belong with you now, or am I asking to be released? There is no dishonor in letting something go. To offer your gratitude, and then to return an object to the earth, or to the fire, or to another hand that may carry it with more ease, or even to keep it, but to cleanse it through your own ritual, your own meaning, your own breath. You are not meant to be a storage house for the unresolved energies of others. Your home, your body, your energetic field, it must be a clear reflection of your own path. And this requires a clear, seeing discernment, not only of what you are given, but of what you choose in this moment to continue to carry. Peace comes from choosing what surrounds you with clarity, with deep alignment with your full and present being. Not all burdens appear heavy. Some are polished and shining. They are hung in frames of gold and kept behind glass. A shelf that is overflowing with rare objects. A room that has been designed more to send a message than to offer rest. Expensive things that were chosen not for their heart, but for their price. These are the quiet builders of unrest. Beautiful to the eye, admired by many, but subtly unsettling to the spirit. In the tradition I follow, the outer world is always a mirror for the inner, and too much of anything, even a beautiful thing, can become a kind of noise. Excess awakens the hunger of the mind. It feeds the part of us that is never at peace. The part that measures, that competes, that believes more is always better. You can walk into such a room and feel a disquiet you cannot name. There is no deep rest in a space that is designed to display a kind of superiority. It asks for your attention. It whispers questions. Do I have enough? Am I good enough? What will they think of me? This teaching is not a turning away from wealth. True mastery is never in fear of abundance, but it is a warning about obsession, about the chains of attachment. When your own sense of self becomes tied to your objects, your spirit can shrink to fit their dimensions. Simplicity, on the other hand, is an invitation to stillness. A single bowl placed with intention. A single plant tended with gentle care. An empty wall that gives the mind room to breathe. These are not signs of what is lacking. They are signs of presence. True discipline is to choose what gives life to your energy, not what pleases your ego. A quiet space is not an empty space. It is a space alive with possibility. And when you let go of the need to be seen as successful, you begin to feel successful from the inside. Calm, centered, unshaken. The more you release what distracts, the more you see what truly matters. And in that clarity, peace is no longer something you are looking for. It is the way you have chosen to live. Even sacred things are not separate from the flow of time. An incense burner with a chip in its base. A talisman that cracked during a season of great difficulty. A scroll with written prayers, now faded, the edges curled and dry. These were once powerful friends on the path. They were used with devotion, placed with deep care. But now, with time, they have become quiet echoes, no longer alive with the energy of your presence, but merely symbols, worn, forgotten. In the temple, a young monk learns to treat their spiritual tools with great respect, but never with fear. A broken object is not a source of bad luck, but if it is left without touch, without use, without care, it makes a journey from sacred to stagnant. Its purpose dissolves. What once was a bell to call you back to yourself, now just melts into the background. It is a part of the room, but no longer a part of the practice. True reverence is not found in clinging. It is found in honoring the great cycle. Creation, purpose, completion, release. It is a simple thing to hold onto these items from a place of nostalgia. This was with me on my first retreat. This one was a shield during a hard time. But when their inner light fades, they no longer serve your present path, and to keep them becomes a kind of spiritual clutter. It is subtle, but it is real. To let go of what is broken is not to dishonor the journey you have been on. It is to affirm it. It is to say, I give thanks. I have changed now. I am ready for what the path brings next. Discipline is alive in how you care for your practice, even in the small gestures, cleansing the altar, respectfully retiring an old symbol, lighting a new stick of incense with your full attention. You are shaping your own energetic field. Spiritual tools are not meant to be kept as relics of the past. They are meant to be companions for your growth, and then to step aside when their work is done. When your space holds only that which is alive with meaning, it becomes a pure reflection of your path, clear, evolving, awake. And in that space, your practice ceases to be a ritual of habit. It becomes a living, breathing expression of the truth of who you are. Energy does not only reside where you choose to look, it also gathers where you choose to forget. A room for storage that you never step into. A closet that has not been opened for many months. A corner that quietly gathers dust, old boxes, a tangle of wires. These places may seem to have no importance, out of sight and so out of mind. But your own energy flows through the whole of your space, and what you ignore does not cease to be. It only settles. The ancient wisdom teaches that your home is a perfect extension of your own mind. Just as tension in the body can hide itself in muscles you have forgotten, the tension in a home can hide in spaces that are neglected. These become small pools of stagnation. Chai that is blocked, trapped, and heavy. One day, walk through your home, not with the intention to clean, but with the intention to see. Notice the places where your breath becomes short. Notice where your eyes tend to skip over. These are your body's signals. The body can feel what the eyes have learned not to register. The practice is not about making every corner of your home perfect. It is about making it intentional, even the most simple action. A floor that is swept, a cloth that is folded, a ray of light allowed to enter a dark corner, can shift the entire feeling of a room, and in turn your own. Neglect creates a distance between you and your world. Presence restores that sacred connection. This is a form of deep training, not in grand, sweeping gestures, but in the discipline of quiet attention. You bring life back to your space by bringing your attention back to it. You do not need to build something new, only care for what is. Each space you reclaim becomes a part of your own consciousness returning to clarity. Every corner you clear becomes a silent statement. Nothing within me is abandoned. Everything within me is worthy of light. Mastery is built in these small, unseen moments, where a simple broom becomes a tool of stillness, where dust becomes a great teacher, and where your home, gently, becomes a mirror of the balance you are choosing to live. Your home has its own voice, if you can move slowly enough to hear it. Each room has a rhythm. Some flow like clear mountain water. Others feel heavy or stuck or somehow sharp. These subtle feelings are easily missed in the rush of the day. But when you learn to walk with awareness, they reveal themselves. A doorway that gives you a moment of pause. A chair where you always feel a certain tension. This is the voice of energy, not the ghost of superstition. It is simple sensitivity. The Shaolin Way teaches not only how to move the body with grace, but how to read a space, to feel where the river of chai is flowing clearly, and where it has become still. You do not need special tools for this, only your own presence. Begin with your breath. Slow, even, deep into the body. Let your feet touch the floor as if for the very first time. Step into each room with a quiet and open attention. What do you feel? The quality of the air, the nature of the silence, the way light comes to rest on certain things. If a place feels out of harmony, honor this feeling. You can light a stick of incense, not as an empty ritual, but as an act of resetting. Watch the smoke as it rises and begins its dance. Allow it to drift into the corners, and in your heart speak simple words. Words that ground you, words that clear the space. I release all that no longer serves. I invite peace to dwell in this room. These small acts have great power. They shift the energy field, not just around you, but the field within you. Your nervous system feels it. Your thoughts grow softer. Your breath finds a deeper well. This is the daily maintenance, not just of a house, but of the self. True discipline is not only found in the perfect execution of a martial form. It is found in the way you open a window, the way you pause before you enter a room, the way you consciously choose calm over the pool of clutter. A house that is cleansed with presence becomes more than a shelter. It becomes a partner on your path, a silent ally, a mirror that reflects your inner world. And when your space is calm, your own spirit finally has a place to land, a place to rest, and a place from which to begin again. When you release what disturbs your space, you are not merely cleaning a home. You are practicing the discipline of clarity. You are making a quiet and powerful statement. I will no longer carry that which pulls me from my center. This is not an act of superstition. It is the practice of self-mastery in its most simple and profound form. For the objects we choose to keep are not just simple decoration. They are a reflection of what we truly value, of what we choose to avoid, and of where our spirit is still holding on. The path of the wise does not ask for grand, elaborate rituals. It asks for a daily awareness, a calm and seeing eye, a steady hand. It asks for the courage to let go, again and again and again, until only that which is in true alignment remains. So, I invite you to walk through your home as if it were a temple, not with fear, but with great care. Allow your own discipline to shape the space around you, and allow that space to remind you, every day, of who it is you are choosing to become. Thank you for walking this path of awareness with me. If these words have brought you a measure of clarity, I invite you to subscribe and to remain close to this work. We will walk this path together, quietly, powerfully, step by step.